here. But first, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, may have conspired last year to commit treason against then-President Donald Trump and against the United States of America. That's a takeaway from a new book called Peril by Washington Post journalists Bob Woodward and Robert Costa, neither one of them a huge Trump fan. They recount that Milley called his Chinese counterpart, General Li Zuosheng of the People's Liberation Army, on October 30th, 2020, just before the 2020 election. According to the Post, Woodward and Costa wrote that during the call, Milley said, and I'm quoting, "General Lee, you and I have known each other for now 5 years. If we're going to attack, I'm going to call you ahead of time. It's not going to be a surprise." According to Woodward and Costa, Lee, quote, took the chairman at his word. Now, if what the Post journalists wrote is true, Milley conspired to commit treason. He may actually have committed treason just with that promise. He should be removed and prosecuted immediately. That's what a lot of people are saying. That's what we've written in commentary on the Western Journal ourselves. It's also certainly Donald Trump's position, except that Donald Trump doesn't believe it's true. That's an important consideration in this story. Former President Trump is calling for the general to be charged with treason if he secretly told his Chinese counterpart the U.S. had no plans to strike Beijing. The charge of treason could theoretically at least result in a death sentence in this country. Milley faces growing criticism from both sides of the aisle over allegations that were made in this book, Peril. And Trump said that Milley was dealing with the Chinese general behind the president's back if he was in fact dealing with him at all. In other words, Trump says, I didn't know anything about this conversation. If he was in fact assured that he'd be given notice of a pending attack, that looks like treason to Donald Trump. And Trump told Newsmax apparently that he has had, quote, so many calls saying that Milley's behavior was in fact treachery. Treason is, as I said, a capital offense in the United States. There are other punishments, of course. You can be imprisoned for 5 years. You can have fines of thousands of dollars. I think $10,000 is the minimum, if I remember correctly. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's right. Anyone charged with treason is also not capable ever of holding office in the future in the country. So that's all important, and it's important to know. It's also important to know, and this isn't being reported very much, and certainly not in right-wing media, which I'm assuming most of our readers pay more attention to than the establishment crazy people in the mainstream media. Trump called this report fake news. He said it was concocted by a weak and ineffective general. I think what Trump's getting at there is this is Milley trying to make himself sound more important than he actually was. And Trump also said of the two authors, Woodward and Costa, that they write, quote, that they quote, write fiction, not fact, end quote. Trump also disputed, of course, any insinuation that he had considered attacking China. We should probably note that Trump is one of the presidents in modern, maybe the only president in modern history, certainly in my living memory, to not get the U.S. involved in another shooting war anywhere. So what do we do with this information? There are a lot of sort of back and forth going on here and a lot of things to consider. So I'm going to give you three things to take away from this, three things to think about. Number one, who are we going to believe? Do we believe Donald Trump? Do we believe General Milley? Do we believe Woodward and Costa? Look, I think President Trump did a fine job as president, but I also believe that he doesn't always tell the truth. I frankly don't think any president always tells the truth, and sometimes there are good reasons for that, frankly. Point being, I don't know that I take any of these guys at their word without doing my own research, which is my takeaway number one here. Do your own research. Don't trust the stories, certainly don't trust the headlines, and really don't trust the memes and the tweets, even and maybe especially when they come from people that you agree with. That's called confirmation bias, and it's not, generally speaking, a good thing. Maybe especially don't believe them when you tend to believe them at first blush. In other words, don't be lazy. The nation needs patriots who are willing to do the work required to get to the truth, to be informed, to think critically, to make good decisions as a citizen of the United States. There's not a meme that's ever been written that's going to help you do that. And I've written memes before, and I'm telling you, that could be a starting point for a conversation. It cannot be the end point. It must not be. You must not let it be. Don't be intellectually lazy. Do the work. Second, people are people. All people are people. We all have our faults and we all have our strong points. Look, I served in the U.S. Army myself. There were men and women I served with whom I would absolutely trust with my life. Today, I'd trust them today with my life. But the fact that someone wears a uniform doesn't mean I trust them with my life, because there were others I served with who I would not. There were people I served with who I know, if we were in a foxhole, the second bullet got fired over our heads, he was going to be out and run in the other direction. I could name names. I remember who those people are. Of course, I'm not going to do that. Point being, the fact that you don a uniform, look, I thank you for your service. I honor your service, but it doesn't make you honorable. It's a suit of clothing. So just because General Milley, who, generally speaking, if somebody has attained that rank in the U.S. military, my default drive, I'm going to give them respect. But just because they are in that position doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily give them any more weight than anyone else. People are people.